Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. Today we're going to be talking about fourth house lord in all houses of your zodiac sign of your Vedic chart. We've been doing this series, and if you're new to the channel, I'll urge you to please watch my Mahadasha series as well as the series of Lord houses across all houses. It's going to give you a lot of insights as to how your Vedic chart and placement is going to be impacting your life. So I urge you to please check that out. And if you like the content that I've been putting on my channel, please like and subscribe, follow my channel, and you're going to get more amazing videos. So, guys, in continuation to our series, today we're going to be talking about the impact of fourth house lord across all houses. Now, what does the fourth house denote? The fourth house, as we all know, it's and we've done a detailed video about understanding of our birth houses in one of the videos. If you can check out the link here as well, it'll give you an insight. But very quickly, it depicts your mother, it depicts your mind, your peace of mind, so to speak, the kind of knowledge that you gather. Of course, we all know it is also a depiction of the assets that you build, the wealth that you create, the property that you have. So, your house, your property, your factory, your warehouses, the intellectual property that you might have in the form of software or any other IP that you built, the patents that you guys write, all of that is seen from your fourth house itself. The vehicle that you drive, the assets, mobile and immobile assets that you build in your life are also seen from your fourth house itself. It's basically an accumulation of what you are going to have in your life, and it is second to the third, means it's an outcome, it's resources of the efforts that you're also bringing in your life. So all in all, it's a Kendra house, it's a very important house. And if we see from a Kal Purush Kundli standpoint, you see moon would be the ruler of this house, because Cancer sign is the natural sign that is allocated to this house. However, for your reference, what I'll put up here on the screen is a picture that tells you, based on your zodiac sign, what would be the ruler, and which sign will it be depicted. So for example, if you check out a Scorpio sign, it is ruled by Saturn, in Aquarius in this case. For an Aries, of course, it is ruled by Cancer or moon. Or if you check out the Pisces sign, it will be Mercury, because it is the Gemini sign which will fall in the fourth house. So fourth house, a Kendra house, very important house, and it is also a very soft placement, because it depicts all the sensitivity, the care, peace. Those are the kind of words that we are associating with this house. It is also a moksha house in the dharma, arth, kam, and moksha trikon. It's the first house of moksha, right? So very important. And if you see, that is how the fourth, eighth, and 12th are going to get linked, and we are going to talk about it in detail as well as we walk through the video. But this will give you a a sort of a hint that it is important to have soft, kind, benefic planets being placed in this house, the likes of moon, Venus, Jupiter, Mercury. They seem to be the good placements in this house, vis-a-vis malefics like Mars, or a Saturn, or a Ketu, which could be very difficult. And I know I keep on saying that Rahu Ketu axis, with Rahu being in 10th, is great, but with every placement, there is a riskier proposition also that arrives, and this is what comes into play when a malefic comes into effect. But what we are going to be doing is we are going to try and understand that how the ruler of this house is going to perform. Typically, if it is not a sun or a moon, rest of the other planets will have two houses controlling your chart. uh, and we have to see, of course, the impact of those planets, keeping in mind the ownership of both houses. But in this video, we are going to be focused towards the lordship of fourth house and its placement across the board. So, without further ado, let's understand when the fourth house lord is in the first house, what happens. So, one is that it is going 10 places away from itself, right? It's going 10 places away, which means that your karma is going into your lagna. The karma of your fourth house is going into your lagna, into your ascendant. It is becoming the core of your personality, of what drives you as a human, as an individual. And this will give you a sense that a lot of you would find peace or happiness once you see the assets or the wealth or happiness of your mother becoming the core of your life. You are the people who are either born with a silver spoon, with all the amenities available to you, with all the luxuries of life being available to you, or a lot of support in your workplace coming through the support of your mother itself, or you will bring all that energy to bring to build that wealth, to build the assets of the fourth house. So you are the people who are very, very motivated, that whatever work you do at your workplace, the karma, and not just the workplace, the karma or your professional life, it should give you satisfaction. If your work is not giving you satisfaction, you will always be cribbing and unhappy, and your ultimate goal will be to shift in that direction. So for example, a lot of us, we pursue, let's say, education and engineering, but we end up doing our job, our profession, in a very different field which has nothing to do with engineering, so to speak, on a day-to-day basis, right? That is because the peace of your mind is not lying there, it is lying somewhere else. It is being addressed with some other mechanism, and that is what is taking you in that direction. People who keep on juggling with their day-to-day job but eventually want to shift either to a business or a different kind of a profession can be seen through this. You can also see that you are able to build good amount of wealth, accumulate good amount of wealth in different forms. Like, your assets will be spread across having good cars or house. Even if you are living in a rented house, you will be exposed in terms of different kinds of asset allocations, in terms of stocks, bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, and things like that. So you have that innate ability, that insight is resident within you to actually expand in those areas. But all of it is, of course, in a very, very positive domain when everything is panning out the way you would have envisaged. The tricky part is that if it is a malefic planet, or if the lord in itself is getting afflicted, if it is in an enemy house or not happy for some reason, what would happen is that you will not be happy in whatever you are doing. Like, somewhere or the other, either it will bring laziness in you, or it will bring delays in you, or you will find you will tend to criticize every effort that you yourself pick up. So you will be the biggest critique of yourself. You don't need anybody else in the market to come and tell you, hey, you're doing a shoddy job. You're just gonna take that blame onto yourself, and not be happy. And in a way, it is good because you want to push harder, but the problem is that will continue to trigger your brain on a continuous basis. You will find yourself distracted, too many things coming on your plate. You will tend to have a tendency of trying to do multiple things at a time and then failing across those areas as well. So guys, I keep telling, try and to learn to rule your chart, rule your planet. So if you see anything of this sort, see that how you can bring in more process, prioritization in your lifestyle, and how you can address those challenges. That should be your approach around it. It could also bring a situation, in a good case, a very strong bonding with your mother. She is the core of all your happiness. But in a difficult situation, there could be an argumentative situation as well. You would love your mom, that is definitely going to happen, even if it's a malefic planet. But there could be a difference of opinion that would creep in, which could bring a certain amount of distance between you and her. Okay, in case of malefics, I would want to say that you have to be very careful about her health or your mental health as well. In certain situations, it could bring scenarios of depression, mental health breakdown, nervousness. Anytime an obstacle is coming your way, you could feel nervous at the first go. You will have a tendency to fight back, mind you guys, I'm not saying you will not fight back, you will. But in a malefic situation, you will actually have a fear inside you, and then somehow you're going to gather your energy and fight against that obstacle. But in a good situation, of course, you will see that everything is a breeze. You already have that peace of mind, so things seem sorted. It's a very good placement, where you could see that you will build big, huge assets over the course of your lifetime as you continue to work. Because see, we are having a 10th relationship from the fourth house to the first, which also means, and I keep on saying, 10th is a upchaya house, means it grows over a period of time. So your mental peace, your assets, your knowledge will keep on growing over a period of time. It is not going to diminish, and it's going to bring in more. So you're going to build assets through assets over the course of time. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If it does, please click like and subscribe. I really need that. Now we will talk about the fourth house lord moving into the second house. I think again, guys, this is a very, very auspicious connection. Why? Because see, the second house denotes your family. It denotes the food that you consume. It denotes your immediate communication. It also denotes the primary education that you have. It is going 11th from itself, which means that the gains of fourth are going to reflect into the second house, right? So your assets, your mind, your knowledge, or your mother's support is going to bring that growth, wish fulfillment into your own family, into your own communication, into your own savings. You will use your strategy, your brain, or you will use the right investment mechanisms to bring in more savings. Say you are, this is also a indication of you taking birth in a very well-to-do family. Or if that is not the situation, it could mean that you will bring your own personal assets and knowledge to bring wealth and savings to your family. Okay, so it can work in both ways, in both analogies for you. You have to understand what is actually fitting in for you, but this is a good connection in my mind. I personally do like when planets go 11 places away, 9 places away, because it brings positivity into the life of the native. What especially, if there is a connection with a planet like a Jupiter, or it's a connection of a Venus moon kind of a planet. If it is moon, suddenly I realized that you could actually bring a lot of interest in food. Or even with Venus, a lot of interest in food, culinary skills. Maybe your mother is a great chef, and she's given you some great recipes, or she's actually helped you in an enterprising way, brought in gains through the food industry. Restaurateurs could see, if you want to go into the business of restauranting, you could actually, or catering, you could see this kind of connection happening between the fourth and the second. Guys, also check out the second and the fourth in my second lot video. That will also give you that understanding. You need to connect the dots from both angles, and that is why it is important to see the entire series. But if you see this connection of fourth lord into the second, food industry could be of great interest to you. You could have expansion in your family. You could be the reason that, say, post you getting married, with your family, kids growing in, family coming in, you see wealth creation happening. There is an increase in status that is coming in your life post this. The riskier situation could be that if it is a malefic, there are certain times that there could be separation or distancing of your family, within your family, with your mom, or some kind of disputes coming in as well. In some situations, I've seen this in a couple of charts. But then, not everything is applicable to everybody, so take it with a pinch of the salt and try and consume it. Okay, it's a good connection, guys, from an 11th perspective. But also remember that it's a third, fourth is third from the second house, so that connection you have to read, and you have to also see what are the aspects into your second house. Are there any malefic aspects or not? And based on that, you can get a more refined judgment to this reading. Now we will talk about fourth lord moving into the third house. So what happens when the fourth lord goes into the third house? It is going in a house which is about mass communication. It is going into the house of hard work. It is going into the house of short distance travels. It is going into the house of your siblings, right? But it is also going 12 places away to itself, which denotes loss of itself, isolation, and expenses, right? So in a good day, on a good day, what would it mean is that you will bring each of these elements of either connection with your mother, or your own knowledge, or your assets to invest into your own startup. You could use your assets to get in some investments, seed investments into your own startup. And that is why I would like to connect the dot of being enterprising, starting your own business and things like that when it comes to the third house itself. Or you could actually leverage that for the help of your siblings. That is also possible, that you bring that support. It's an expense. See, you're spending actually, but you're doing it for a good cause. Because when you do that, it again comes back through the second connection to itself, right? So that is another possibility. What you could also see is that you could use your assets to build an enterprise in the travel or tourism domain. Or like transport kind of business people have, they buy buses and stuff for schools, or commuting from one city to another, commuting, providing commuting services to companies, for that matter, those kind of things. You could also see a profession which is in the sales and marketing space, where your energy, your asset. See, fourth house is also your car, right? You're using your car, your motorbike, to travel within the vicinity of the city and doing your work, right? So you got to connect the dots. It's spending, it's the loss of your depreciation, I should say, depreciation of your asset into the hard work that you're going to put in, into the short distance travel that you're going to be doing, that could be related to work, right? So you've got to see from both angles. It is not always negative, it is a very positive way of looking at it. But yes, see, it's a 12th house movement. So the tricky part here that comes into picture is that there is a risk where you could see loss of your own assets due to the decision making that you do, due to the business calls you make. You might end up mortgaging your house for subleasing your house for certain project, and it might not pan out, and you have to do a foreclosure, you have to lose that particular asset. So those kind of risks are possible. It is also possible that you might take calculated risks, or speculative risks as well. I would actually say calculated risks around new age trading tools, around commodities, around stocks and cryptocurrencies, and it might not work out for you. So if that is the case, I would want, if you have this kind of a placement, please think twice before you do anything of that sort. Why? Because it's a loss of your knowledge as well. The knowledge that you have might not result in the right decision making for you. You understand? Your intent will be all positive, but that outcome may not be as you desire, even though you've done your analysis and studies that that is the right commodity to invest in, or that is the right space to work in. It could be also that you could have had your education, 12th to itself, away from your house, away from your family, because you could be a person who has studied in a boarding school, or studied in a school. I've seen so many people in my own family who send their kids in nearby towns, because that is the best school, so to speak, within the district, and it's like a 15-20 miles, kilometers kind of a drive one way every day for the kid, right? So there are day schools for that purpose. And yes, it is possible in your chart that you could have you would have to even go through the same. It's also possible that for some of you, we've talked about we've talked about the siblings aspect and the travel aspect, but from a hobby perspective, see, you could be a big time spender, or you could be having hobbies which are heavy asset related. So like driving cars, or doing racing practices, go-karting and stuff, as we talk about, right? Or your hobby could be in terms of decoration, interior designing, in those kind of things. So it is very, very peculiar. It will not be applicable to everyone, but yes, those kind of nuances might also fit in, given your chart and what kind of placement, especially if it is like a Venus. Yeah, it will definitely do that. A moon would also do that. It will bring a lot of transferable job situation as well in your chart, if you have your fourth lord in your Third house, transferable job would be there. There could be actually growth because of that, but yes, you will have a lot of transfers. Okay, so now we will talk about fourth house lord in fourth house itself. Now guys, we've discussed this pattern a lot, because it is one of the most charming situations for us to have, wherein the planet is sitting in its own sign in its own house, and it is generally seen to be a good placement. Why? Because from here, it is going to bring in, like, it is first to itself. So all the strength and assets are going to be in your grip. You are going to have control over whatever has been given to you either by birth, or you are going to build during the course of your lifetime. But usually what I've seen is that people with this kind of a placement have their assets right from birth itself. They are born with that. A lot of you use your assets to build your own assets as well. So you have a multiplier effect in your birth chart, where you use one asset commodity to build multiple. And I'll give an example. A lot of times Uber drivers or transport people, they start with one vehicle, right? And they use that vehicle, that cash flow, to multiply and bring in more cash flow cars into their business. Or you've seen so many people, when they would invest in one house, one apartment, make some money out of it, pull that out, invest that money into a bigger home, larger property, much more ambitious project, and then drive something out of it. You could see people in their business professions as well doing something similar, where they have a regular business of, let's say, producing XYZ goods, and they suddenly find the opportunity to double down in terms of their production capacity, warehousing and stuff. Lot of these charts have fourth house lot sitting in the fourth house itself, and it is giving a direct aspect to the 10th house as well. Okay, so that relation automatically comes into play. So that multiplier effect is very, very natural for you guys. I don't see any kind of negativity in this, because the Lord is in a strong position, unless and of course there is a malefic which is giving some kind of an ill effect, and that kind of creates some issues. Okay, so we will now talk about fourth house Lord in the fifth house. So this is, in general, again, a very, very good connection. Why? Because a Kendra connection is happening with a Lakshmi Trikon. So it's sort of a Raj Yog which is coming into play for you. Now what's happening is that the fourth lord is going second to itself, right? The first and foremost thing that comes to my mind is that your knowledge, the piece of your mind, or the knowledge that you have assimilated in your head, is transitioning into the certificate, into the degree that you're going to gain. So a very good thing that happens is, a lot of occasions you will find you are the people who get some of the best quality education in your life. You will be able to achieve the quality of education that you had always desired for. And typically you guys are good students. You come out of good colleges, you end up also working in the same profession in which you've done your education in, because it is aspecting your 11th house. Your gains are actually transpired with the kind of education that you've acquired in your life. So that's the very first obvious thought that comes to mind when this connection happens. It's a Raj Yog. A Kendra is getting connected to a Trikon, and that to a pious one, a soft Moksh Sthan, is a Moksh place house, is getting connected to the Dharma house. So it's a very positive connection from that angle. Now, what would happen is that you would notice that you will also bring your own, assets into the growth of your kids, into their well-being, your peace of mind or your happiness. You are the kind of people who are like, all kids would want, you as parents. So you bring that warmth, that love, that sensitivity in you, even in male charts. And this is not restricted to women, please. Even in male charts, there is such a soft corner towards their kids, that you will do everything within your ability and your capability to bring the growth of your kid. It's a very auspicious thing. Even the education of your kid is positively impacted by your influence. So that is another good thing. Your investment of assets or resources of your assets goes into uh, heavily into stock market investment, IP based investment, and things like that, speculative investments as well. You double down on that and you believe, you have that intuitive layer about it. Why? Because see, a lot of times we see that people use their existing assets to diversify, but you just don't do that. You diversify and you expand. People who are in the finance space will understand what I'm trying to talk about and what I'm trying to suggest. A lot of modern day, so hedging one of your asset class to make money on the other, you are smart with that. You're very smart with that. So you might block your US dollars and make an investment in a yen or an Indian rupee or a euro to drive those returns in those funds, and then come back and make money back into, transfer money back into the dollar terms. So that those kind of strategies, intelligent strategies, knowledgeable strategies, are seen for you people, because you are the guys who would do MBAs, pass out and work with the Wall Street firms, and then eventually devise mechanisms for your own personal gains as well. Remember, there is a connection that will continually happen with the 11th house. So your personal gains are also driven and tied to this, and that is very, very evident with the people who have this kind of a combination. Your mother will play a key influence on your kids. Like, she brings a lot of cultural nuances and training, if I may say, to your kids, and uh, that is passed, that legacy, so to speak, is passed on from one generation to another within the bloodline. Okay, so it's a very positive connection. The only risk that I anticipate, and this is with respect to your mother's health, because it is second house to itself, right? So it is a maraka sthan. uh, it becomes a maraka, right? So some of you might agree, or would have found, when I'm going to make this remark, is that your mom might carry some kind of risky, hidden disease, long term disease, which is not very evident, right? It would happen in the seventh placement as well, by the way. That risk will also be there. But yes, that is a definite possibility that could come into play. But beyond that, I do not see any major risks. You guys are very, like, your creativity sits in how you multiply your assets, or how you find that peace of mind, right? You will find creative ways to be happy. I think in one of my previous videos I had said that you are the people who would, if you wanna spend some free time, you would not sit in front of a television and watch Netflix. You would want to go out, plan a picnic, or take a short trip with your family. Family time with kids is the mantra of peace of mind for you guys as well. Okay, so I hope you're able to connect the dots, and that makes sense. We will now talk about the fourth lord moving into the sixth house. Now this is going three places away from itself, and it is going into a tough house. What does sixth house represent? It represents any kind of litigations, loans. It represents your employment as well, and it represents any kind of mortgage or enemies that you might have in your life, the obstacles that you might face, divorce as well. See, when it comes to 6 8 12, it's very natural, even in my head, when I'm recording this video, it's the negatives that tend to pound right on, on top of my thoughts. But I'm going to talk about the positive effects as well. Unfortunately, I'm just getting the negative thoughts to begin with. So, in unfortunate circumstances, guys, your asset could be utilized in paying the alimony, or fighting the divorce cases, or fighting any kind of court cases that you might face, right? You could be in situations where buying property might bring a lot of headache, a lot of, like, energy is getting wasted into that. Like, if you have any of your lot sitting here, and god forbid if it is in a bad aspect of a rahu or a ketu, or it is aspected in a with a enemies, mercury, for example, with an enemy of Mars, it's a tough spot. Why? Because your hard work, third house from itself, right? Your hard work would go into fighting those battles. So I would want urge you guys to be very very careful in planning your loans, buying and purchasing property and stuff, because your assets are getting affected, or your, a lot of accidental situations also arise because of this. So whilst driving, you might want to be very careful. You would be like scrubbing off your cars every now and then. You need repairs. Even if that is not happening, some or the other problem is coming. You get this flooding and the car gets flooded, right? So even if it was not your fault, those problems just walk creep up to you and you have to face them, right? So that kind of a tricky situation is seen from this. It is also anticipated that you might lose your assets in the medical treatment of yourself, most predominantly, or someone in your family, but it is predominantly for you, your health, which is seen from the sixth house, right? So that is also a tricky situation. But there are, of course, there are positives as well that come in life. So in a good situation, in a positive situation, what could happen is that you could find that you are actually building your career in the space of asset building. Please try and understand. So your job could be such that could require you to utilize your assets a lot. So your car, for example, could be a predominant thing to travel for work, and your work requires you to go and meet multiple people and connect with a lot of people doing short-term travels within the city. Maybe you are in insurance field or you are in the field of banking, and you have to meet a lot of retail customers for that matter. That could be seen with it. You could be in a health insurance domain, or in the health domain where you are providing home based services. A lot of companies do blood testing, radio services, therapy services that are provided to their end customers and clients. This kind of proposition, this kind of alignment could be in your chart as well. Yeah, does it make sense? It is also possible that you might pick up a job which is related to your hobby. Site, again, travel and tourism kind of thing might come into play. Something that you had built from a communication standpoint as well. So you are working, let's say, for a firm that is into the media space. That kind of connection is also possible with this house. So these are some of the positive connotations that will come into play. You could use your assets for the well-being of others, right? So try and analyze if there are anything that I'm missing in this particular one. Then please drop a comment and I would love to respond to you guys, or maybe just comment back. Now when the fourth lord is moving into the seventh house, now again, bhavarth bhavam is going to come into play, as I was talking in the last video. Second to second, third to third, right? So fourth to fourth is coming into play. And the second thing in this one is that it is a kendra to kendra connection. The moksha house is getting connected with a calm house. So your peace of mind would be in terms of building partnership, or being around your spouse and loved one, or your life partner. Or it could be you meet your spouse during school days, college days, kind of a situation. That is also a possibility. But I strongly feel when you have a fourth house lord sitting in the in the seventh house force to itself, there is a, you know I mean, I'm reminded of one of these videos where this guy said that uh, I will be happy traveling anywhere, but that place becomes much more worthwhile when you are with me. I mean, he was referring this to his wife. So the moment I think fourth to fourth in the seventh house, I'm reminded of that gentleman. So you are those kind of people who will find romance, peace, satisfaction when your partner is there in everything you do. Your asset building will have a lot to do with your partner. It is also a possibility that the spouse that you choose, your husband or your wife, could be with the intuition or recommendation or approval of your mother. That is also seen with this placement. Or there is a possibility, if you're a guy, you want to see the traits of your mom in your wife, like the way she cooks or the way she keeps your home. Or in the case of women, you want to see that care and love and affection and sensitivity coming in from your spouse, from your husband, the way you've either had it or not, or longed from your mom. That kind of behavior is also seen when the fourth house lord is moving into the seventh house. Okay. There is also a possibility that, especially if it is a Saturn kind of a connection, that there could be delays in marriage, and there could be a significant age gap as well. Okay, age gap with your spouse as well. That is another thing which is seen in this kind of placement. But all in all, I think one thing is for sure, that you are those people who love to, bring in more connections, partnerships. Like, you are really collaborative. It comes naturally, it comes instinctively to you that you can go and collaborate and do partnerships, and grow that thing, balloon that up to the next level. And that's your strength, your capability, in the long run, for your business enterprise, or even at the workplace that you're operating in. Okay. I think one of the negative situations that could arise with this kind of a placement is when, uh, you have that intervention of, uh, it's some of the rare cases that would find that there could be an overt interruption or intervention of your mother into your family life, into your married life, which could create a ruckus or some kind of issues and troubles in your marital, disputes arising. So that is a probability. I'm not saying it will be applicable to everybody, and I'm not suggesting that if that is the placement, you've got to be more careful about your mom and your spouse. No, I'm not suggesting that. But yes, in some charts that also arises, especially if it is a malefic, right? Because there will be an affliction. Say the fourth lord sitting in the seventh is afflicted. That is a definite possibility. So you might want to check that out. If it makes sense to you, please subscribe and like this video, guys. We will now talk about the fourth lord moving into the eighth house. Now this is going 5 places away. So the placement, the energy that the fourth lord is carrying is a positive one. It is like something from past life. However, it is going into a turbulent house, and as I was saying, in the sixth house, it brings that unease. And the first thing that comes to my mind is that what can go wrong, right? Now, eighth house, you see, guys, it talks about uh, sudden losses or gains. It talks about research. It talks about the secrets. It talks about the occult sciences. It talks about everything which is unknown, right? Hidden for you, from you. So when the fourth lord goes into the eighth house, what what can potentially happen is that your mind, on a positive note, be driven towards either picking up a profession. Say you get entrenched in diplomacy, some kind of detective agency sort of related profession, or occult, astrology for that matter. Those kind of interest areas will be developed. Like, you will enjoy doing that on a positive side. You will find satisfaction, peace of mind in doing research. And you will bring in spending of your knowledge, spending of your mind, in terms of understanding what this could mean, or what kind of research can be done. A lot of people spend time doing cancer research and whatnot. All that stuff can be seen through this. You could be in the profession of medicine, uh, which has connections to the internal medicine, as we call it. That's the technical term for it, internal medicine, right? Those kind of areas will be of interest to you. And that is all positive because of the fifth house, the fifth place connection that I'm trying to relate here, right? Those are the positive things that can come into play. Your asset can see a sudden multiplier as well over a period of time. a lot of times we see that, you buy a property, a land, in certain outskirts of the city, in the suburb, and then there is a project that has come up that talks about a metro rail passing from there, or a new mall coming up, or any new other government projects coming up, which was unexpected, not thought of, and the price of that particular property shoots up, right? Those kind of things can happen in a positive light when the fourth lord is in the eighth house. But the trickier aspect is, first and foremost, see, it talks about the longevity. So the first thing that, and I'm so sorry I have to put this, guys, but I have to give this example. We've seen that, some of the people are unfortunate that right at their birth they lose their mother. uh, a very strong possibility of this connection happening. Okay, it can impact the longevity of the mother of the native who faces this when the fourth lord is going into the eighth. While it is 5 places away, it is like it was destined. You have to understand, it was destined, it was meant to be. So that is the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm seeing this possibility. The other thing is that, again, as we saw a positive appreciation to our assets, there could be a negative, a depreciation, loss of assets as well, due to unforeseen circumstances. And this has happened so many times. I mean, COVID has impacted the livelihood of multiple businesses and people, right? If you go back and check some of those charts, you will find that there is a connection of fourth and eighth happening. It's very prominent, it's a hidden thing that has impacted the livelihood of those people, the assets of those people. You see a lot of restaurants somehow survived, but a lot of restaurants also died during that phase. That connection of fourth to eighth can be seen through this. And I'm specifically picking up the example of restaurants. I know there were so many other businesses that got impacted during that period, right? It was very difficult for them to stretch, but restaurants especially bore the brunt of it. So that kind of situation might arrive. It might also give one of the other tricky things that comes to my mind is that your mind is seeing a loss due to some kind of health ailment coming in, which is very similar to the mind going 12th, as I was talking few minutes back earlier in the video. Why? Because it can denote either mental stress, mental related issues, or some sort of a mental loss. I don't want to use negative terms here, so I'm trying to phrase in as nicely as I can. Please try and read this in a very constructive and positive way, guys. So that sort of issue can also crop up in your life if this placement is there. And guys, I would always say that if somehow moon or fourth lord is getting afflicted, the remedy would be, please worship Shivji. Please do some kind of meditation. It is very, very important for you guys to pick that habit. Okay. I hope that kind of helps you there. We will now talk about the fourth house lord moving into the ninth house. So now it is going 6 places away. It's going to a good house. See, it's a Lakshmi Sthan. It's a it's sort of a Raju connection, but the energy of the sixth is also getting carried. So what happens here is that your mind, your peace of mind is with your father, or is into the spiritual thought process. You want to elevate yourself, you want to learn, your knowledge growth is positively impacted with how much you can grasp about the religious or the spiritual aspects. You might even be a very avid reader. I mean, you might practice, let's say, Christianity or Hinduism, but you may wanna learn about Jainism as well, Buddhism as well, Zoroastrian as well, and tons of other religions that I don't know about, right? So you would have the tendency to grasp knowledge and elevate yourself spiritually in terms of educating yourself around those religions as well. Not necessarily practicing them, but just trying to see that what are the positives that you can gain about it. So many times we've seen people who are capable of, you know picking up verses and shlokas and examples of completely different religion that they do not practice, and they're pretty good at it, right? This is the connection that happens. This is a very strong connection in those charts. It's also a situation wherein uh, your your energy or your effort will go into pleasing your bosses. So bootlicker is not the right word for it, but you are like, how should I put it? Like, you try to be the favorites of your superiors at work, right? You try really hard, and that's the sixth, because job mindset, or maybe let me put it this way: if you have any person in your office who's like really trying to please your boss, his or her boss, and always thinking that, how should I be in the good books, just check if they have this placement or not. I'm very very sure this is one of the things. Doesn't mean, guys, that if you have this placement in your chart you are one of them. No, that's a possibility, right? Other possibility is that, when you have a fourth to ninth connection, you might face, your job employment or growth, or the business that you are doing actually will be heavy in the heavy machinery or heavy equipment industry. A lot of time medical equipment industry can be connected with this, right? So your profession could be in that space. One of the possibilities is that you find a lot of happiness and enjoyment in doing long distance travel as well. Even your profession could give, or you could end up either building an asset. Let's say you build a home once you move far away from your native place, from where you were born. I keep on talking about that foreign long distance connection. That is a strong possibility. There is a possibility that you might have to relocate for a specific duration, and you might end up owning luxury vehicles, or living in luxurious apartments and houses, in a faraway place. People change from one country to another, one state to another, and they end up getting an increment, growth. Your promotion could come with a transferable job. That is another positive that you can see when it is, 6 places away from the fourth house to the ninth house. So that's another interesting aspect of this. But yes, I think you guys will definitely see lots of travel in your chart. You would enjoy that travel as well, not just for business but for leisure as well. So if you have that, bare minimum once or twice in your life you will take, one long luxury holiday. That is written, it's promised in your chart. Very high probability, unless and until you want to skip it, okay? But don't hold my choke my neck on that saying, Dev, I have not traveled yet. Dude, you will do it. That's a very high probability. The negative aspects, I did give a couple of connotations before, but the other possibility is that some sort of challenges, argumentative situations with your bosses and leaderships could arise. So you may want to be careful about it. You may want to be extremely careful in how you sign certain documents, or how do you get into any kind of, say you are the having the power of attorney for your organization. Be very careful in terms of proofreading the document when you are putting your signatures at work. It can be a tricky situation. It can put you in problems. The deal might go wrong for the entire organization, but all blame might come on you. That is a riskier situation to happen, and come in your chart as well. Okay, so just wanted to highlight that, and hope you guys take a note of this. If it makes sense, guys, please like and subscribe. I'm not getting enough subscribers. Now we will talk about uh, fourth house lord going 7 places away from itself to the 10th house. Okay, so when the fourth lord is in the 10th house, what happens is that it is, of course, a Maraka situation, as I said about the fifth house as well. But then a Kendra to Kendra connection is happening, and when the fourth lord is coming in this place, it is aspecting its own house, its own sign as well. So one thing is, I find this to be a good connection. Why? Because you guys are to an extent work driven. Like karma is of top priority. Your professional work life is of top priority to you, and you find your peace, your satisfaction in doing well at your work front. That is definite for you. You are those folks who could be very very ambitious in terms of your growth. Your asset building uh, is predominant through how you see your work life, as well as you again bring that multiplier effect into this. But remember, it's a marker position, so it could hurt your mental or physical health as well. Like you will find that deterioration also happening to your health because of this obsession that you bring to the table, guys. That's very very tricky. This is also a situation because see, uh, 10th house, it talks about your fame, your public life, other than your karma and stuff. So when the fourth lord goes into this place, it means that you use your wealth, your assets to further expand on your social circle, on your public life. So it's a very strong example and placement for politicians. It's a good example of people who do public relations and marketing sort of programs, or run those kind of firms. They will have their investments into this area only to multiply and grow it back. Okay, so that is also seen. See, mother-in-law is also seen from your 10th house, and when fourth lord is going into that place, depending on the strength, if it is a positive or a negative one, it could show what kind of relationship your mom and your mom-in-law would have with each other, right? A good sisterly behavior versus a clashing behavior can be seen depending the sign of the house. It's something random that just came to my head, and I just wanted to articulate and throw it back to you guys. Look into that if that's happening for you. Okay, so that's definitely a possibility. Now again, from your mother's health perspective, as it is seventh marka, I'll just throw a word of caution that you guys have to be careful about that as well, because that could typically get impacted. But all in all, I think this is a positive sign. There is also a possibility that you bring partnership with your spouse to your work. So your profession or the business that you grow could be in conjunction with your spouse. It could also be in conjunction with your mother. See, fourth lord and then seven places away, right? Or your mother could have some sort of, so you try and work in a setup. And I know this will sound arbitrary, but I cannot hint enough. But there are situations when the mother and the wife have a joint entity, and the husband is actually employed or working for that entity. People do that to derive the best outcomes for their charts. I'm telling you, this is a remedy for some people who are stuck up with their jobs and are not able to do businesses. If you come to my personal consultations, I'll give you these kind of ideas, and you would love to listen to this. So okay, pretty successful, and that works for people. So these kind of very peculiar situations that could also arise, but you might want to link up partnership associations. Partnership with your mother for your profession will also be very good for you in this case, unless and until there is no major affliction happening in terms of an aspect, or the affliction to the lord of fourth itself, aspect to the fourth house or the lord of the fourth house. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, guys. We will now talk about fourth lord into the 11th house. Now 11th, it talks about gains, it talks about wish fulfillment, it talks about regular income. But in this case, fourth lord is going 8 places away. Okay, so in some of the rare circumstances, it becomes a very very tricky situation as well, because now what is happening is that you have to understand that what kind of suddenness secret situation is going to come. I feel that this one is it's uh, it's like an okay situation, because things can go haywire in both directions. See, your asset, your peace of mind is going towards your wish fulfillment, but that wish fulfillment will always have some or the other hidden issues that you've not thought of or planned of, right? So you might, let's say, wish to uh, uh, you know uh, build a big property, buy a particular car, or invest into a particular asset and expect certain gains. But unplanned changes happening in terms of taxation rules that impact the entire cash flow for your property, or arbitrary rules, like in New Delhi there were rules of odd and even cars. People were buying two cars together to drive it. Peculiar situation, right? Not in your control. Or in some of the cities and states where there has been a ban on cars that are before a particular year date of manufacture. So these things are out of your control, but you're using your asset to bring in certain wish fulfillment or gains, and then that goes for a haywire. That kind of a situation might arise. Okay. 11th house, typically any of the planets, I keep on saying this, tend to do well. If it is a planet which is having ownership, now fourth lord, I'm assuming if it is not sun and moon, then it will have ownership of some other house as well, right? So you can see analogies as to how it's going to be impacting your 11th house. But from a fourth to 11th connection, what typically you would find is that you will try to use your asset in a good situation. You will try to use your asset or your knowledge to bring in more wealth or to achieve certain target goals and objectives. But fortunately, unfortunately, hindrances will also follow through. Like, either there will be delays in accomplishing that, or you will not be able to succeed. There could be potential losses is an extreme one, but yeah. Now, see, this is also because it's an eighth. So we are talking about secrecy. Means you could also have an 11th is your network, right? So you could have a secret network as well, which means that you are a person, who might not be able to use that network for your own good. But if somebody comes to you, you are an extremely good asset or support system. If I may come to you and say that, can you please connect me with the head of XYZ organization, and that person is part of your LinkedIn network, for example. You might not be directly doing business, not be directly associated, but you will be able to connect that dot for me and help me benefit out of it. Maybe you get a finder's fee for it. Or some person in the construction business and you are exactly not using that, but you can bring some sort of benefit to somebody in your family or friend. So you are that Spock within your network who brings solutions and positivity around. So it's a secret network that you can use. Sometimes it will be positive for you as well, but mostly you will be the charmer within that network group, enabling others. That's a very, very strong possibility. Okay. You could also see yourself living under the support or ecosystem of your elder siblings. This could give a possibility where your elder siblings will have that wish fulfillment, that gains. They will be the karaka of gains in your life. You can see that possibility as well, right? Or you could find growth. There are some late bloomers in life. You actually grow and do well in terms of your property and assets once your kid gets married. It has happened to my friend's father. All his life he waited to purchase property, and the only reason was he was in a transferable movable job. And the moment my friend gets married, he purchases the property in the same city where my friend was working, and of course he starts living together with his son and his daughter-in-law. That's a very, very simple example of how his luck changed. So you might want to see how it is working in your chart. If you have any thoughts, please bounce back. But yes, please keep into mind the eighth house or the eighth energy from fourth house carried into the 11th will always play a role, and this could be a tricky one in this scenario. We will now talk about the fourth lord moving into the 12th house. Now, 12th house is, of course, the house of isolation. It is the house of sleep, bed pleasures, expenses. It is also an elevation from a spiritual level as well. And fourth house, typically, guys, I keep on talking about knowledge and peace of mind. Now, while people might say any 12th house connection is not great, this one in my mind is, a good one, because the moksha house is getting connected to the moksha house, right? So your peace of mind will actually expand with your expansion, or your expansion of your knowledge in the space of spirituality. You are the folks who have, you know even if you're spending your energy of your mind to elevate and enlighten yourself to the next level. I'm not saying you are going to renounce the world and you're going to be doing something crazy. No, all I'm saying is that you are detached to a certain extent, and in a positive way. You might build these assets and spend those assets for the happiness of your family, your children, your parents, or whatever. But it doesn't pull you into it deep inside, because somewhere, yeah, it's just all there. I'm going to spend it and I'm going to earn it back. Or, this is not for me. At the end of the day, I made all this money to whom am I doing it for? That disassociation, loss of moh, as we say, is there, because that moksha, that renunciation ability, that enlightenment naturally exists with you guys. On a materialistic level, again, a friend of mine, very close buddy, Scorpio ascendant, uh, fourth lord is Saturn. It is getting exalted in the 12th house. Beautiful home here in US, born in India. He landed beautiful. He's always driven some of the best cars. Okay, some of the most beautiful exotic cars that you can think of. He has a beautiful luxury home here in California. So if you wanna connect from that perspective as well, you build your assets in a foreign land, in a foreign country, from a materialistic aspect, right? You find happiness doing that. Your peace of mind is in your home in a foreign country. It naturally happens for you. Again, Shani or Mangal, Saturn, or Mars are also karaka for that, especially when it comes to property. But I wanted to give you an example of how to connect the dots. So, and the guy is a spendthrift. I mean, he only buys branded stuff. Okay, so you guys have this tendency of splurging on luxury. You will, on a positive note, you will be building your house, or construction of, or having assets in a foreign land. Or foreign just doesn't mean living away from your country. It could just mean away from your birthplace in a different culture, right? So that sort of a thing. You are born in UK and you are living in Finland. You're born in North India, living in South India. That kind of connection is also possible, and that kind of a asset building is also seen from this kind of a house. It could also mean that you know you are a happy-go-lucky guy. You love to sleep, you love to rest. So sometimes that lazy character also can be seen when the fourth lord is sitting in the 12th house. That's a definite possibility. It could give you habits of snoring and sleep apnea if it is having a malefic effect, or like a afflicted planet which is sitting there. But yes, spending is natural. You are going to find your peace in isolation. You might have a network and stuff, but at the end of the day, you would prefer and addressing your problems all by yourself. You want to evaluate what you have and what you don't, when you are in that private space. From your mother's perspective, it could also denote distance, guys. So you might be separated or living away. I was talking about being away from your mother right from your childhood, in terms of school education, living in a different city, in boarding or hostel and stuff. Very much possible if you have that kind of a placement. Departure of your mother could also be seen through this. But see, this is going 9 places away, right? So it brings more of positive fortunate thing. And 9 is, if you see, is again a dharma house, right? So it brings that positive vibe to it. It's like fortune is favoring when your fourth to 12th connection is happening. So more or less, in this situation, I will say it tilts more towards the positive than negative. So I hope, guys, this makes sense, and I hope you've enjoyed watching today's video as well. Please like, share, and subscribe, and keep in touch. Om Namah Shivaya.